education are, I can say that they are universal in education in general. Whoever is trying to learn new things, it's an advice to go through the 3 levels so that to get to the 3 level as fast as you can. Okay?
Okay, how this applies to adopting agile practices. So first, you begin with the shoe level. So first, you should have something to begin with. Maybe we have a small team and we will start practicing Scrum. Maybe we'll start adopting Scrum as a framework. And so, first thing is to start with something. And then, when we reach the high level, this is when we start to explore other variations. Maybe there are other practices that we can inject in this Scrum framework. Maybe there are other variations to do this practice or this meeting. So we start to explore other variations. And then at the re level, you will be either very smooth in your transitions from there will be no limitations, no boundaries whatsoever. So you will be very smoothly transitioning from practice from here and practice from here and practice from here. You may be even inventing your own practice or your own methods, and this is the re-level. We always said that true agility is in the re-level. Okay, this is where there is true agility. There are actually no limitation or no boundaries. You can choose whatever practices which will help you achieve agility. Okay?
Okay, let me give you one example with this. If you are communicating with your customer through the sprint planning meeting and the sprint review meetings, these are the 2 meetings that are prescribed in Scrum. And then you have thought that this is not doing their job. The value of customer collaboration over contract negotiation. I'm not achieving this value, and I need to think of something else. There are other variations, other practices. What we have seen in this case is that people get stuck at the shoe level. They get training in Scrum or maybe some other methodology and start experimenting with this, and they are very happy at the beginning. After a while, they feel the shortcomings of this methodology because there is no silver bullet and nothing like every team can apply the same methodology with no problem. So when they get stuck at the shoe level, they start feeling the shortcomings of this methodology, and after a while, they start going back to the way that they have been working maybe several years ago. We have seen this in several teams, and we always hear about this way after the training takes place. I got someone from one of the companies in Egypt, and he told me after maybe 3 years on, how is everything going? I told him, what happened with you? I never heard about you since that. He told me that we have started doing several practices, and after a while we felt that this is very naive. How come? We don't know what's the value of standing up every day for 45 minutes discussing the status of the project. I told him, okay, let us have several coaching sessions, and I'll be the Scrum Master, and I can guide you through the Agile Adoption. He told me, no, I will not do that. Why? Because me and my team, once we hear Agile, we feel the ache in our legs. So we will never do that again. So it was a problem, stuck at the shoe level and not being able to experiment other variations to what you have been taught or what you have thought Agile at the very first stages of your learning.
So our conclusion from this point is that there is no one-size-fits-all methodology for adopting Agile. Whatever you start with will eventually change. It will evolve with time. The other challenge that we see related to the stages of learning is the opposite of this, which is rushing towards the re-level right away without going through the shoe and the high levels. And this is also a problem. although that we said that true agility is the real level, however, you cannot just jump right away to the real level. You should start with something, and then you should start experimenting. You should start to with something in place, and then after adopting these practices for a while, then you start to explore other variations. We see some teams and organizations, maybe from day one they said, no, we don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need this, no, this will not work, this will not work, this will work. And then they will have a very complicated process in place to begin with, and usually it fails. Most of the time we have seen it fail. Because they have took a lot of decisions up front, and they didn't leave any room for experimentation. Maybe trying it out for one or two sprints. So we have seen two different areas, like Ham said, getting stuck at the shoe level or rushing right away to the re level. Okay?
Focus on practice versus value. The example that I have just given about the stand-up meeting, what happened is that when I asked this guy about why this practice failed, he told me, why should it succeed? Why was this practice was in place at the very beginning? The issue that I have seen is that the team does not perceive the value of the practice. And this is one of the critical success factors of any cost improvement activity. Your team should see the value in place after you practice for a while. If you have implemented this practice one way or another, and you cannot grasp the idea or the value behind the practice, then stop doing it. You may challenge your own coach, you may challenge the consultant who's in place here, and he has to get you some feeling of the value behind the practice. But focusing on the practice without any paying attention to the value behind the practice usually makes the whole thing fail.
Again, it's not about the practice, it's about the value behind this practice, how this practice helps you with achieving the principles and the values of Agile. This is what the whole mindset is about. So again, having a daily standard doesn't make you Agile. Having like a bunch of sticky notes and hanging them on the wall doesn't imply that you are Agile. Okay? Education. Education is a very important building stone of any Agile adoption or any Agile transformation. And usually, education should aim at first with shifting the mindsets of the practitioners, of the managers, of anyone in place. Okay? So we focus especially on the fundamental education, the introductory training or the fundamental training, which takes place as the first step in any Agile adoption. It should primarily focus not on introducing Scrum or not on introducing specific methods. The first thing that you should begin with, from our experience, is, again, talking about the mindset, talking about the values and principles, okay? Trying to shift the mindset of the management, of the practitioners, or managers, or whoever would be part of the Agile adoption journey. Okay? This is the most fundamental and critical part. And then the practice adoption, and then maybe coaching them on the practice part will come later. This doesn't mean that the practice part is not important, but the mindset part should come first. Okay?
Two aspects of this is, or maybe two examples is, when I found one of the teams struggling with management implementing several practices, the team finds these practices valuable, but the management didn't give enough sponsorship for them. What happened is that I have called for a half-day training for the management staff, and it was very successful. What I have talked about in this half-day session, I have talked about the mindset, that we have to think differently. have done several exercises with them to explain that things should be run differently when it comes to an agile team. After that, the team spent some very good experimentation period at which they have reached an extraordinary results. On the other hand, I had another team. The initiative was very specific to this development team inside the organization and nothing else. After a while, they had a new senior manager who's managing development in this organization, and they have spent so hard time explaining to him what they were doing, and after a while, they started getting isolated more and more from the organization to the extent that they felt that there is no harmony between this team and the rest of the organization. So it would be very helpful to dedicate some of your time educating the middle and senior management on the principles of Agile.
Okay. We have a lot of times we have used the IC Agile educational roadmap as a base for our when we tried with our clients to build an education roadmap across all disciplines. We have actually grown very fond of these roadmaps because first, all of these roadmaps, they've been created by experts from each discipline, and each of these roadmaps has a set of learning objectives and skills that basically tell you, okay, if you want to develop capacity or capabilities in your organization for agile coaches, for example, what sort of learning objectives and skills that they should possess? For example, related to the facilitation or the coaching, what sort of coaching skills or coaching areas that they should be aware of? What facilitation techniques and skills that they should learn in order to be good coaches and facilitators? The same thing goes across all disciplines. The good thing about this roadmap, about the IC Agile roadmap, is that it focuses primarily on education. Okay. The second is that it's not methodology specific. So again, it tells you first you have to go through this part, which is the fundamentals, and this is all about the agile mindset. So first you should go with this, enter this part, and then after we shift your mindset, after you now think differently, then you would go for whatever discipline or whatever track that is suitable for whatever discipline that you're involved in. Okay? So it's not methodology specific, it's discipline based. So for example, for an agile developer, it tells you, okay, for an agile developer working in an agile environment, what sort of skills that he needs to possess across which these skills and techniques and practices could be adopted from different methodologies and frameworks. Okay.
Okay, we always have a problem with piloting in terms that we feel that setting up a pilot may fail an agile adoption initiative because all the organization wait for the results of the pilot. Either it passes or it fails. If it passes, then this project is very good, and let's roll out this agile thing all over the organization. If it fails, then it would be the end of the initiative, and nobody else in the organization will think about agile. Whatever, the way we think about here is not piloting, but experimenting. We create a safe environment for the team to experiment and start progressing with the experimentation throughout the three levels of education, Shu, Ha, and Re. This kind of a safe environment makes it easy for the team to accept failure. If you fail in one sprint, it's okay. We'll experiment with some other set of practices and we'll do something else in order to achieve a higher level of, say, higher level of achievement. How you measure it is completely different from team to a team.
The other thing which is related to this part is, instead of having one part of the organization doing Agile in an isolated manner and then be perfect. And most of the cases, yes, those teams succeeded eventually. But after this, the teams were scattered across the rest of the organization, and there would be an Agile team inside a non-Agile organization. So everything in the organization is still the same. All the policies, the management approach, the culture in place, everything is the same. The only difference is that they have one small team, which is Agile, but the rest of the organization hasn't changed a bit. So this is something which is not sustainable and usually doesn't end quite well. The other challenges that we faced in a lot of teams would be who plays which role. To change the organization, you would be doing a lot of pilots, a lot of different pilots maybe at the same place. So, what we meant is that, depending mainly on a pilot to evaluate for success or failure, and then trying to duplicate this pilot without paying attention to the organization change.
And in this case, we would rather call it a sandbox, not a pilot. Just to give an idea that it's not a success or failure option, two-way. Either you succeed or you fail, and upon this depends the whole initiative. We just give the idea that a sandbox is necessary for the team to learn. It cannot be achieved by just educating the team in a training setup like this. It has to be experimented one in maybe several iterations at least.
Okay. The other challenge about who plays which role. Okay. So we have seen a lot of challenges related to the Agile roles specifically. Okay, who plays the Scrum Master, who plays the Product Owner, what's the role of the management? Okay, I'm a project manager, will I be thrown out after adopting Agile? Do I still have a place among the team or not? This is a classical problem that we have seen a lot of times. Okay. And not paying attention to this may drive the whole initiative to fail. We have seen a lot of teams, a lot of small companies specifically, fail because the wrong people played the wrong roles. Some people, they says that, okay, it's a standard now that, for example, all analysts would have a transition to be product owners, and all project managers will be Scrum Masters and coaches. No, we tell them there is no such thing. Okay. This is one of the things that we have benefited a lot from IC Agile, because it tells you, okay, in order to be a good coach, you should possess those skills, and you should have a background about those learning objectives and those topics. So basically, whether I was a manager, whether I was a project manager, was an analyst, a developer, or whoever, I now have a set of skills. Okay, when I possess such skills and when I know of such responsibilities, then I will be either capable to do this job or not. Okay. But there's no such standard where we tell, okay, all team leaders would be the Scrum Masters and the analyst or the project manager would be a product owner. No. Most of the cases that we've seen, if you don't pay a lot of attention, who plays which role, and do they possess those skills, and are they perceived by those roles from the team or not? Maybe a project manager used to micromanage his teams and use authority with those teams in a typical traditional manner. Maybe even if he possessed the facilitation skills and the coaching skills, maybe he's not a good Scrum Master. Maybe he will never be perceived by the team as a coach or as a Scrum Master or as a servant leader. So there are a lot of issues to be considered when we think of who's the best one to play such roles. Especially that these roles are critical to the success of the adoption. because usually the Scrum Masters and the internal coaches are the ones who should, these are the ones who will be the servant leaders, the change agents who will lead the way to with the organization all the way when we are done.
Okay, I think we have run out of time now. We just listed the 3 remaining challenges very fast and get a couple of questions. Okay, now the next challenge that we have faced is focusing on details versus the big picture. This means very briefly that people get immersed in implementing several practices and not paying attention to the whole organizational model, the whole organizational performance structure and things like that. So it's more like team-based local activities that is taking place. Next, cross-functional and self-organizing teams. We have seen a lot of challenges in these cases that people create some kind of a virtual cross-functional teams, but at essence they are not cross-functional. They are missing some very basic roles that makes this self-organizing team not self-organizing anymore. And the last one is the tools versus collaboration and interactions. We faced that, we have felt that people tend to create an environment at which they spend a lot of money on some very good tools. And once they buy this set of tools, they think that the people will become like this.